Joining me now from Capitol Hill is Republican Congressman Pete Sessions of Texas. Congressman, welcome back to The Story Is.
Thank you very much. It's a big day for America and a big night for TV for people to catch up on the things that are happening around the world.
Yeah, and so for you, what does victory look like for the United States? And are you willing to put American boots on the ground to achieve that?
Thank you very much. What does victory look like? Victory looks like that America, Israel, and our friends in Saudi Arabia, as well as other nations that have chosen to be a part of this coalition, have decided that death threats, the proxies of the Iranians have rained on people for now 50 years. It's time for that to end. And it came together at a great time where President Trump said it is time that this ends. He gave them a huge opportunity not only to negotiate their way out, but also to say that we will not let you have a nuclear weapon because you have chosen to be madmen who are incapable of effectively handling such a device. So that's what I think it looks like. We're going to go ahead and take care of the Iranian regime. We're going to try and hand this back to people. I think the Iranian people are well up to this. They needed help in getting there, and the United States is willing to do that. Boots on the ground, I do not think that at this time I see where that is necessary. Now you would say to me, well, Pete, what are you going to prove the next 3 weeks? Well, in the next 3 weeks, we'll take out the last of the will that they have to fight and send proxies around the world. We will run down and hunt down those people that are left. We will use that with the people who are in Iran right now who want to see a new and brighter, better day, not just for the world, but for themselves also. And that's what I think we call a job that must be accomplished and the goals of it.
While I'm here in Georgia, I spent some time today with Georgia's U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock. He's got a different view than you on this. I want to play that and then have you respond.
Part of what we've got to ask ourselves is, are we going to see increased regional stability as a result of this? Or are we going to see a region that's even more unstable than it is right now? The idea that we might find ourselves bogged down in yet another endless war in the Middle East, I don't think that that's something that people have signed up for, even in this county that voted overwhelmingly for the president.
So how do you avoid another endless war in the Middle East?
Well, I think that, first of all, I would disagree with the senator. I don't think it's an endless war. I think that it is a fight that had to take place on behalf of free people who've gotten really very tired of not just the proxies, but of the Iranians threatening the United States people. They were getting closer and closer with their technology and ability to strike Americans, certainly our assets and our allies around the world. And I think that this can be done very quickly. I think it will be done very quickly. And I think President Trump ends wars. He does not start them. And I think that you will see in the American people will have confidence in our United States military.
I mean, didn't he literally just start a war? I mean, because a lot of folks will say, what was the necessary to do this now? Because if the president was truthful when he said that we completely obliterated Iran's nuclear arsenal, then to come back months later and need this, both of those things can't be true at the same time necessarily.
You know, you can wipe out a great big yellow jacket nest, but they'll come back. And the bottom line is that the regime has this at their goal to kill Americans and wipe out Israel. And that is not a safe world. And so I'm willing to take the gamble that the American people not only see the benefit of this, but are willing to see the president and the Israelis run this all the way through. It is not going to take months. It's going to take weeks. And I do not see us putting boots on the ground at this point.
The Constitution is pretty clear that Congress is supposed to declare war. Are you concerned that Congress has not had a vote on this and that the president did this without consulting Congress?
Well, I think there's been plenty of consultation. This was probably the worst kept secret that I've seen. I don't think that it was a surprise what the president has been doing. I think the president's been forthright about the negotiation, about what he wanted, but that we could have a vote about the War Powers Act is really not what this is about. What this is about is that the United States sees that it is now the right time to do this. And I would tell you that, as we have seen, there are a few Democrats who have said that they see the wisdom in the timing and that they support our military. But boy, what a tough time to have to get this when Congress has just the difference of one vote or two. So that debate, I'm sure, will be brought to the floor. We will be back in on Wednesday, and it will not surprise me at all if the Democrats bring those same arguments directly to the floor of the House and certainly the Rules Committee.
Republican Congressman Pete Sessions, thank you so much for joining us on a very busy and historic day in Washington. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.